Brought to you by Charity Mobile. Switch to the phone company that supports your beliefs. All plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. Use promo code TRADITION at CharityMobile.com for a special offer.
Peru. A story broke over the weekend that was utterly amazing. A priest was outed in the international secular media for violating his vows. And some of you are going to rejoice when you see this news for partially the right reason, but partially the wrong reason too. Not exactly the most trustworthy source most of the time, but this story does check out. The Daily Mail out of the UK. The headline, Peruvian bishop is accused of having 17 secret lovers after being exposed by the cleaning lady, as mistresses started fighting over him. Peruvian bishop. When this story broke, I saw numerous people pointing out that it was from Peru. Pope Leo is from. I'm not saying he was involved in this, certainly not. But there have been whispers about him knowing things. I mean, you remember the controversy that surrounded him the day he was named Pope. People going, well, hold on, there were all these stories out of Peru about his handling of bishops' cases and things. But some of you will be rejoicing on the story for one reason I consider kind of both the right reason and the wrong reason. And you'll notice this in the headline, the word mistresses, meaning his secret affairs he was having were with women. It is a sad day in the church when we can laugh and be thankful that it was with women as opposed to the other option. Well, the other options, including people too young to consent to such activities. I can already see later in today the comments will be, oh, at least it was women. There's a lot of questions here about this story, especially since there's a lot that I hear from coming from South America that I can't report, but there's a lot of weird stories out of Peru, a lot of weird ones. So just pray that the truth about those weird stories comes to light, whether the truth is that those stories are false, or that if they are true, that people who have the ability to bring evidence can do so. The truth must prevail. The truth of this story, well, I'll go to an unlikely source for it. Here are the details. A Peruvian bishop accused of having 17 secret mistresses has handed in his resignation after reportedly being exposed by his cleaning lady. Chiriquispe Lopez, 51, the bishop of Juli in Peru, resigned his prestigious post following an investigation by the Vatican that revealed some of the women nearly physically fought each other after finding out the truth. Paulo Yugas, a Peruvian journalist, said, quote, a nun who was one of Quispe's lovers was jealous of a lawyer the bishop was also seeing and sent information about his affairs to a third lover who got into a fight with a lawyer, end quote. A nun who was one of his lovers. Welcome to the post-conciliar church. If you think that's an unfair dig at Vatican II, in the immediate aftermath of Vatican II, one of the things that ended up happening was that psychologists were unleashed on religious communities, especially women's religious communities, by bishops around the world. It was almost like it was coordinated from somewhere. And what ended up happening is wherever those psychologists went, vocations collapsed, women left religious orders, a lot of religious orders just went away. It happened in the years afterwards. Very, very well documented. There are people that I chat with periodically who are actually experts on the state of women religious who say that my rather harsh coverage of what the Rome does to women religious doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of how bad it actually is. And you got a hint there at that. Now, Malachi Martin in Windswept House made it sound like there were like covens in some monasteries or convents. And I know that sounds radical, but I've had that corroborated from other people. All because in the aftermath of Vatican II, they brought in psychologists to help make sure these women wouldn't be too rigid. Because as most of you know, that when you meet like a woman who is dedicated to traditional values and traditional living, they honestly are, like, it's not just like a facade, but they actually are. They are some of the most rigid people you will ever meet. Those are the kind of women who belong in the religious life if they have got the calling. But a nun, as well as a lawyer, And the nun sent it out to a third person that was involved in this. This sounds like a really terrible Hollywood movie. Back to the article, quote, she added in an interview with the Times, it was a real soap opera, but also lifted the lid on a serious abuse of power. Many of the 17 women were too scared to come forward because they were frightened of him. Lopez is said to have been caught out after he accidentally sent photos and videos intended for his mistresses to his cleaner, who quickly filed a complaint to the Catholic Church. The Vatican reportedly combed through sordid voice notes, photos, and videos Lopez sent to his mistresses. But the disgraced clergyman denies the allegations, describing them as a defamation campaign conducted by, quote, dark hands. I pray that he is correct. I pray that he is correct. Pray yourselves for the truth of this to come out. Because if he is correct, then his name should be cleared. Lopez is also said to have been under investigation by the Vatican for allegedly embezzling church funds. He is said to have been accused of removing chairs from church property to be used in a chicken restaurant chain he had a financial interest in. It's oddly specific. The chain is called Pastas Arriba, which means upside down, but literally translates to legs in the air. The Vatican accepted Lopez's resignation early last month, more than 20 years ahead of when bishops ordinarily retire at the age of 75. Right out of Peru. Pray that the truth emerge in that story, as well as other things that there are whispers about from in Peru. And finally, I know many of you are not fans of the current president, of President Trump. Many of you are very big fans of his. He said something over the weekend on X that no matter what you think of him, should get you to pause what you're doing and pray for him, no matter what you think of him. He took to social media. He said this on, I think, Truth Social. He said, I don't think there's anything that's going to get me in heaven. I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven, but I've made life better for a lot of people. And none of that would matter if he's right. Because we know it's not our works alone that get us into heaven. Works are part of what we're called to do by Christ, but they're not what get us into heaven. They're an expression of the faith. Pray for him. If you hate him, pray for him. Jesus commanded us to pray for our enemies. And if you think he's the greatest thing ever, pray for him. The road to salvation begins with the recognition that there's something higher than you. He has publicly said or talked about God before, many times, as if he believes. He's made it sound like he believes. But many of you will not believe him. But a statement like what I just read to you from him isn't the kind of thing you just put out there. It sounds like he believes, but that he's also recognized that he is a grave sinner with a lot of unconfessed sins that are holding him down, and vices and attitudes that he cannot let go of. It's a terrible place to be, especially for a man of his age. However, the recognition of that and of what the consequences could be means that he seems to have recognized something that is crucial to the path of conversion, which is that there's a barrier between him and heaven. And that barrier is himself. Pray for him. There is no greater force on this planet than Christians being unified in the prayer for conversion of somebody. If you love him, pray for him. If you hate him, pray for him. If you're indifferent for him, pray for him. That is a call for help. That's a cry for help you saw. As an adult convert, I know what that's like, where he is, because that was where I was before I became a Catholic. He is surrounded by Christians of all stripes praying for him. It seems to be having some kind of effect on him. So please pray for him and for his safety. I don't need to reiterate to you how insane the news has gotten on the threats to public figures who are not part of the Marxist wokerati. You don't need me to reiterate it. You've been paying attention. You know how weird things are getting out there and how dangerous they are. But pray for him, especially if you don't like him. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, please. A little longer of a live stream than normal, such as the way things are when major news breaks. I do recommend that people pray for him in the same way that you would want your enemies, those who are critical of you, to pray for you. But like I said, yeah, let me know what you think of all this in the comments. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. And share this on social media. It helps too. And pray for that bishop we started this with, and pray for Pope Leo. This is a dangerous path the church is going down right now. That much the bishop in that letter is right about. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.